you get that Facebook notification of all these great things out there, you'll know the ones that work best for you. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on you, David, but I'm going to throw it over to you now. And good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Joanne. And again, thank you for the invite to host this webinar. Good morning to everybody. First and foremost, I don't normally sound like this. I woke up this morning with a bit of a cold, so I do apologize, but please bear with me. So let's jump straight to it. Today's webinar, we're going to talk about task and project management tools in the online world. Okay, and the reason we're going into this is because we had to all of a sudden make a sudden change in how we do our businesses. Okay. So a little bit about me. My name's David King. As you can tell by my accent, I'm from Thailand. I was born there. My mom's half Thai, half Laotian. I moved to Scotland when I was 4 and then came to Canada. First started out as a professional athlete. I then became an engineer, mechanical, then aerospace, aeronautical, then aircraft. I came to Canada as a pilot. Found my passions more back into engineering, and before too long, I became a project manager. And one of my first companies is actually somebody who's joining us today. So Farzad from AIT, welcome. That's my first role as a PM. I then progressed on to become a director of a PMO, and I'm now currently working as a senior manager in an aerospace and defense company. So one of my passions is learning about new processes and procedures, but most importantly, taking away the theory and making sure it applies to each individual. And it's really rewarding for me to give it back and help others implement a system that works for them. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the agenda. I tried to keep it to under 100 slides. It looks like I've only got 23, so that's good. We're going to go over why are we here, what do we want from the tool. I'm going to get really excited. I'm going to talk about project management and work breakdown structures, because that's going to lead us into our next section, which is reviewing which tool works for each and every individual one of you. Then we're going to go into the summary and any questions and answers. Okay. So let's ask ourselves, why am I here? Okay, so we're here basically to review online tools using both task and project management. They are not the same. When we look at tools, companies will promise you the earth, they'll promise you your tools can do this and it can do everything, including, make a cappuccino. Doesn't always work. So we're going to review this. Okay, now, if you're a business owner and you're looking to increase team efficiency and productivity, this webinar hopefully will help you look at this option. You may be in a managerial role and look to increase your knowledge of online tools and collaboration. Again, in the current situation we're in with COVID, extremely important. And for those of you who are PMI, PMP designation holders, this webinar will give you 1 PDU just for sitting and listening to me. So you get 1 PDU for your credentials. All righty. I'm going to start this off by asking the audience, what is it you're looking to get out of this webinar? So I think we're going to put this in the chat scenario. We have a couple options. Let me have a little look-see. Okay, so there's 3 answers. Multiple choice. Did I mention there's an exam? Yes. If that is multiple choice, you should be fine. So what is it we're looking to get out of this seminar? Do you all see the poll on the chat screen?
No, I don't see the poll on the chat screen.
Okay. Okay,
I'll get it started here. I'll just write it in the chat.
Oh, perfect. There we go. Okay, so the first question is, what are you looking to gain out of the seminar? So 1, I'm not sure. 2, an in-depth knowledge of the PPM tools, which is project portfolio management. Or 3, high-level overview of Trello and projectmanager.com. So if I can just get a rough idea, questions 1 to 3, that would be very helpful. Then another 30 seconds or so. Okay, so a lot of us Not entirely sure. Just coming into it and just seeing what's available. Great, that's fantastic. Let's hope we can give you that little bit of extra knowledge there. So the first thing is, what is it you want from the tool? You don't know. When you look at a problem, you first of all have to identify what our problem is. And there are a lot of people that go straight away into, I need a new tool. This tool is going to solve everything. Not always, but let's look at what is available as we select the tool. Okay. So when we look at PPM, which is a project portfolio management tool, we want to make sure that tool does task management. Okay, without managing tasks, there's no real benefit to it. But other options are project management. Now, I know programs like Trello, they say we do task management and project management. I'll let you decide that factor. But some are very strong in some areas and very weak in another. So the two tools are not necessarily the same. We look at team collaboration. Again, the purpose of having an online tool is to have your team remote and be able to communicate in one forum. Okay. Email integration. Well, you may think that's not a necessity. It's actually very beneficial. If you can have your tasks integrated with your email, it saves a lot of time. We look at mobile app. You think, I don't need that. Well, I've implemented tools out there that are linked to a mobile app, and it saves a lot of time. For example, we would give the customer sometimes access on their mobile app to our tool, so they can see live stream, live data, the status of the project. When I set up a project on the computer, I give the laptop or the phone to the team downstairs, and if they have an issue, they can log the issue live on their mobile app, and then I'll see it straight away. I'll get a trigger. So when we look at tools and such now, we're looking at the elimination of waste and the reduction of time. So a mobile app can be beneficial depending upon how you want to use it. Document management. How many of us have different storage locations for different files? When we execute projects, there's some tools out there that actually have that central repository to keep all your documents. And when we talk project management, we talk straight away from the project charter, project management plan, lessons. There's a lot of documents for each project. So to have a tool that can store it all through the process flow can be very beneficial. As we look at reporting, now this is a key thing. When I got my first job as a director of a PMO for a firm that did oil and gas, we had 96 live projects on the go at any one time. Now, of the 96 live projects, you've got at least 50 different customers. So each week, each customer would want a report. Now, each of my PMs would spend more than 1 day per week just generating that report and sending it to the customers. If there's a tool out there that has a report that automatically generates the status, the issues, so on and so forth, and they can automatically send through process flow to the customer, it saves an enormous amount of time. And that's one of the tools that we'd selected at the time, and our productivity increased significantly. Support documentation. There are tools out there that will offer you the world, but will give you no support. They'll give you videos, they'll give you online reading, but there will be nobody at the end of the phone. So this is something you have to consider when looking at free elements and paper-free tools as well. Time management. If you have tools out there that can also manage your time, identify resource capacity, identify bandwidth, that absolutely helps with project planning. Not a necessity if you're looking at task management, depending upon the size of the company, but the larger your projects get, the more proactive approach you can take, the more you can level load your team and anticipate any issues going down the line with resource loading. Now, I just found the animation button on this PowerPoint, so you're going to see lots of bouncing. I love it, so bear with me. Scheduling also is another element that's good for a PPM. If you can schedule your team, see what the roadmap is in front of you, if you're running multiple projects, it really helps with that visibility. A lot of times we're so caught up in our day-to-day tasks, we forget what the bigger picture is, okay, and how many other projects we're taking on. So scheduling definitely helps. Third-party integrations. Now, it may not be a priority for you, but it's something to think about down the line. If you, for example, if you have a timesheet-based software, well, some tools can link to your timesheet software. So you don't have to have multiple tools doing multiple data points at any one time. Trello can interface with Outlook. Trello can interface with Project Manager. It can interface with a lot of other third-party elements. And they can also interface with Microsoft Project. So some things to consider as well. Some tools have very advanced reporting and analytics. They can do phantom reporting, they can do phantom bookings, they can do a whole bunch of other factors. Very advanced. Okay, so that's some of the basics that we really should be looking for in selecting a PPM. Now, when we go on the internet, you do a research, you go, what's the best project tool for me? You're going to be headed with a ton of options. There are options out there like Oracle, Genius Project. I actually implemented this one. I didn't get a lot of support on Genius, and I almost had to fly to Switzerland just because I wanted a free holiday, but they came back with some support. They have fantastic chocolate, by the way. Projectmanage.com, I did 2 implementations on this. I love it. It's very colorful. I'm like a goldfish. I like bright colors, but most importantly, it's really basic and easy to use, but quite strong as well. Primavera is a very stable platform, something that's used in-house, not typically on a network server, sorry, not on an online server, typically a network server, but very stable, but on the higher end pricing range. Clarazan, that's a good one. PlanView just come out. You've also got Microsoft Project, which is a software, not necessarily online at this stage. That may have changed since then, but again, a very powerful tool. With Microsoft Project, there is one button that I use constantly, and that's the undo button, because it's not necessarily the best at everything. We've also got Trello. I love it because it's free. Did I mention I was Scottish? Yep, it's free, and it's simple to use as well. I was actually touring Global BC's studios when I was awe-inspired, where I saw Sophie Lou and everybody. Oh, I was like a kid in a candy store. But anyway, they use Trello for their newsroom as well. Asana, that's out there as well, and Reiki, ChangePoint, and also Sciforma. I went to a seminar with Sciforma, fantastic tool. So there's many tools out there in the online world. They're going to promise you everything, okay? But we're going to not take their promises, and the purpose of this seminar is to go through what tool works for you, okay? So my next poll I want to do out there is, what are the key points you're looking for in a tool? Okay, so let me just put this out there. Answer 1, I don't know, I'm uncertain. Answer 2, I want a tool that's specific to task management. Or 3, I want it specifically for project management. So I'll give you guys a couple of seconds out there just to put your answers in. Okay, give it another few seconds. Quite a few there into task management, eh? Jolly good. 1, 2, 3, 3. So a little bit of mix. Okay, a little bit of mix of both. Okay, so what we're going to do over the next few slides is we're going to really jump in and see what is it we actually want. Okay. So here's where I get all excited, right? What is a project? So I'm going to give you PMI's definition of a project. So a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. Now, it's my theory in life that almost everything can be taken as a project. From when you grow up, you go to school, right? In the UK, for example, our degrees are 3.5 years long. And as you know, Scottish people, we do not party, we do not drink, right? So if you lose focus of that and you start partying and drinking, your 3 years may end up to be 4 years because you ran out of money. You've blown your budget. The grant that you got went on a motorbike. I never did that at all. So you might have to, you know, get another job and increase your budget. Lots of things can happen, okay? So you've graduated, now you're going to find a job. You're going to buy a house. Well, a house is a project in its own. There's so many deliverables to being done to getting a house to make sure you don't lose certain elements. Then you find a partner, you get married. Trust me, you don't want to miss something when you're going through a wedding. So a wedding itself is a project. It has a start, it has an end. You map out what it is in a wedding you want to achieve, the physical deliverables, and then you map out the tasks. So generally in life, you know, I think everything can be broken down into a project, you manage it accordingly, and then the output from that will be your project success, okay? So in my world, in the project and program management world, we use a framework. So this framework here, I just wanted to put it out there just for some background into our next activity, right? So this is from PMBOK, Project Management Body of Knowledge. And on the left-hand side, we've got the knowledge areas. And on the top, we've got the different process groups. All the bits in the middle are the different processes. There's 45 different processes we go through. When we execute a project, we go from the top left, which is chapter 4.1, develop the project charter, down, and then over to the next column down, so on and so forth. A lot of people, when they see this, they get so discouraged. They think, well, this doesn't apply to me. Well, you know what? You're correct. It may not apply to you. You only take from here what's applicable to you. There's certain key ones that you should do, though, right? So the first one is develop a charter. So let's take the reasons why you're here today, for example. So this charter is my agreement with the Mission Chamber of Commerce. We've made an agreement. I'll come here today and we'll do a seminar. Great, fantastic. Now, as we go to the next step, we're going to identify stakeholders. Great, we're going to put a feelers out there. Who would like to come on to the seminar? You've given your details. Fantastic, we've identified stakeholders, okay? Now, as we go into the next process, which is develop a plan, well, what's involved in the plan? We got to know what the scope is. We've got to collect the requirements. We've got to define the scope, so on and so forth. Great. That's what we're doing physically in this webinar right now. So as you see, although there's a lot in here that may, blow your mind, you actually do it every day. It's things you do day to day that you don't realize you're doing. Okay, so this is a framework we're using. This is what you typically would follow process by process to make sure you don't miss any steps and you're successful and you achieve your deliverables. Okay, so we talked about stakeholders. Well, what actually is a stakeholder and why are we talking about stakeholders? Here's the reason why. When we look at a tool, when we implement a tool, it's so common for, if you work in a company, for somebody to say, hey, I need a tool. This is going to improve my deliverables. I need to manage it. I'm not using Excel. There's 20 Excel sheets. I'm using this tool. So you select the tool and it works for you. Fantastic. So as you go to execute the tool and manage it, you may find you get a lot of kickback from certain groups, certain departments, certain stakeholders, right? Why? Because perhaps they weren't involved or included in the selection of the tool. So therefore, you're not going to get buy-in. You're going to get the complete opposite, okay? So I just want to highlight here, if you're a company or if you're managing multiple stakeholders, it's really important to get their engagement and for them to be part of the process as opposed to just buy it, okay? So a stakeholder could be an individual group or organization who may be affected or perceived to be affected by a decision, activity, or outcome of the project. Try saying that on a Friday night. Ultimately, though, it's somebody who's just affected or will be affected by the project. And it's most important that we all talk, have a team hug, and then come to an outcome together. Okay. So I actually implemented a few tools in a few of my companies. And one of the most important things is I wanted stakeholder involvement. I wanted to ask each of the groups, what is it, even though I may have known the answer, what is it you would like in a tool? So I'd give them the sheet and they would fill out the areas in purple. And I'd ask them, give me your requirements. So they'd list their requirements. I gave them a ranking between 1 to 4. Is it a must have? Is it important to have? Is it a nice to have or is it not necessary? Okay. So they would give me their requirements. I would then review it as a department and then we'd see if they actually are applicable. Okay. What we would ultimately come up with when we're selecting a tool is each of the departments in priority on the left identifying what it is they want from a tool. Great. Now, based upon their requirements, okay, I would then look at, and I looked at 96 different online tools. We'd narrow it down into the tools selected on the right-hand side. We'd identify if the tools met this criteria or not, okay? And in this particular case, 9 of the tools met the criteria. Okay, we then broke it down into the top 3. We brought the team back in, cross-functional team. We identified these are the 3 areas, their strengths, their weaknesses. As a group, what do we want to implement? And then we implemented that tool. But most importantly, it's as a group. Okay, so I just want to put out there, when you're looking at a tool, make sure you get stakeholder engagement and involvement. It's so important. Okay. So that's what's involved in actually selecting the correct tool. So the next step I would like to do is, as we review the next two tools, which is Trello and projectmanager.com, I'd just like to ask the group, how many of you would like to actually partake in the activities? What does that mean? It means I'm going to give you access to the tools. I'm going to show you what to do, and then you guys are going to actually do it, okay, and see how the tool will work for you. So let's put the poll out there, please. So 1 is yes, 2 is no, 3 is don't mind. We'll just give another 10 seconds or so. Jolly good. Okay. So as we just wait for those additional polls to come in, let's go to the next step and let's actually review what it is we're going to be doing now, if we want to partake in the online activities. Okay. The last thing we're going to talk about is a work breakdown structure. Now, this is something in project management that's very, very key. It's vital. Okay. And just to showcase how critical it is, I'm going to take a live sample in just a minute. But a WBS, or a work breakdown structure, is basically a decomposition of parts, okay? So we can manage it into manageable chunks, okay? I'm going to give an example of a pen. So if we look at a pen and we identify, well, tell me what you're thinking if I want you to make this pen. Some people may say, right, I need to design it, I need to manufacture it, I need to procure it. That's fantastic. You're absolutely correct. That is what you have to do. But we project managers, oh, we're a special breed. We see things completely differently, and we break it down into physical deliverables, okay? So when we have a pen, we look at, there's a pen body, there's the cap of the pen, there's the pen ink, okay? Once we broke it down into physical deliverables, then we can go into the activities. So going from the noun to the verb, okay? An example of this is going to be a garden shed. So if we have a task of building a garden shed, we first of all break it down into the deliverables, okay? So if we look at garden shed, it consists of a concrete pad, yes. It consists of the walls and the roof, yes. And any of the interior fixtures, great. Can I physically break it down even more? You could, okay? But I think it's broken down enough where you can manage that physical deliverable. Can you break the concrete pad down more? Could, but I think it's manageable. Great. So let's take that concrete pad down now to the next step. Right, we've got a concrete pad. What is it we have to do to physically produce a concrete pad? Well, we need to do 8 activities. Okay, can we group those activities? Yep, we can group it into digging the area and pouring the concrete. Great. Let's look at digging the area. Now, what is it we have to physically do to dig the area? We need to measure it. We need to mark it with a string. We need to dig out the soil to 6 inches. Fantastic. Is there anything else we need to do? Nope, I think that's it. Great stuff. So now, by breaking down the physical deliverables into work packages and into activities, we've captured everything here, okay, at the high level. So we've got the nouns on the top, the physical, and the verbs at the bottom, which is the activities. Great. So we have our project here. This is a work breakdown structure. And again, this applies to any project. It could be a wedding. You know, your ultimate goal in a wedding is to get married, I assume. And as you break out the I'm going to get married, the last deliverable might be the honeymoon. The first deliverable might be getting a license. In there's going to be a reception. In there's going to be a live band. Unlike Scottish people, people might want alcohol, right? So, you know, breaking all that down step by step is really good, because then you assign people, right? Who's getting alcohol? Who's getting the band? So on and so forth. You capture everything. Okay, so we follow the process, we map it out, and then we break it down into this element right here. Okay, so you're asking yourself, well, good gosh, why does this concern me? I'll tell you why it concerns you. Let's go to our next step. We've got a WBS. Now, normally, what we'd have in an office is a Kanban board. So what is a Kanban board? Well, a Kanban board is basically a map of process flow, right? It's to see the live status of what's happening in your specific project. If we go back to the previous scenario, you've got 3 deliverables. You've got the concrete pad, walls and roof, and interior fixture, okay? And on the left, let's forget the titles for now. On the left, those are your 3 physical deliverables. So where it says sponsor backlog and sprint backlog, those terminologies for agile project management, that's not within the scope of this, this webinar, but let's call sponsor backlog the complete scope of the project. So that's the complete scope. Now where it says sprint backlog, let's take that as a, here's what I'm going to do on this work package, right? So you've decided in 1 week, you're going to take on that deliverable, which is a concrete pad. Great. So that's your sprint backlog. That's the scope you're doing right now. From there, you're going to come up with a to-do list, right? And on the previous slide, we identified, we had to dig the area, we had to pour the concrete. Those are the 8 tasks you had to do to achieve a deliverable. So those would go on the to-do list. Now you bring your team together and say, right, who's going to be doing what, right? So then you'd allocate each of these tasks to specific people. And on this particular one, poor Farzad, Farzad's got to measure the area, okay? So Farzad, once you're done that, he would then move it from doing to done. So every day we'd come to the board and we'd come and say, right, I know exactly the status of my project. I know what's going on. And every morning we'd have what's called a team scrum, a 15-minute meeting where we go over what have we done, what are we going to do, and what are the roadblocks. So this is a very good tool to have visualization. But in today's world, we don't always have that. In my scenario, I got 2 team members who have to work remote. So they don't have access to this tool. I'm not taking a picture every day. It's not effective. So that's why we go into online tools. So we need to be able to replace this somehow. Okay. So the first tool we're going to use, which is really good for this, and that's Trello. Okay. Now remember, the tool selection is just my opinion. Okay. There's lots of opinions out there. So with Trello, this is not my particular. I took this from the internet. So what it says, house crap to do, that wasn't me. So what this individual has done is they've taken basically a Kanban board. They've got what's to do, what's doing, and what's done. So straight away I can see, okay, I've got a good visual representation online of a Kanban board. Okay. So I'm just going to go right now and I'm going to open up my Trello. So bear with me. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to share my Trello. Bear with me. Trello, anyway. Okay, so I hope you guys can, I'm not sure what you can see. Can you see my Trello board? Perfect, great. Okay, so I actually use Trello for a lot of things. I use it for my personal life. I got a vacation coming up, so I got a Thailand visit. I got a social club in there. I've got fishing trip, okay? All these little things I use physically Trello. But let's go back to our scenario and let's look at how we can create a Kanban board. So these are our groups. We talked about the sponsor backlog. We talked about the sprint backlog. To do, doing, done. This is your basic board, okay? Now you can customize this however you want to do, okay? To create one of these folders, all we have to do is just click on here and type something in, and that's it. That's your board complete, okay? How do I undo that? Okay, I'm going to archive this, right? So we've got the sponsor backlog. Now we know we have 3 physical deliverables. Great. Let's add a card for this. So one is, I think it was concrete pad. There we go. We have a concrete pad, and you would do the same for each of the other deliverables. Okay. Now, when you're ready to take on this specific task within Trello, it would come into, in this case, the sprint backlog. And on this particular one, okay, I can add more details. I can assign someone, so on and so forth. Okay, I'm going to go into this a little bit more detail on a different board. But I want to leave this one a little bit blank because for those who want to partake in the activities, that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Because that way you get a live feel of how Trello is, how easy it is, and how it can benefit you. On here, we've got the team members. So on this one, it's just myself as a team member. I'm going to go to a different board, which is my August fishing trip. And we'll see we've got 3 team members. We've got myself, my wife, and Jaresa's joining us apparently. So great, we're going fishing. Now on the to-do list on my list, these are things to do. Instead of putting to do, doing, done, I actually split it out a little bit different. I did Donna to do, my wife. What I'm going to do, what I'm going to assign the kids, which is going to be everything, and what's physically complete. That way I know I've packed everything. There's so many times I've gone on a trip and I completely forget something. I actually forgot the boat once, which doesn't help whatsoever. So this is where we type it down in here. Pack the tent, pack the shelter, pack the rods, park the boat, so on and so forth. So you put this down in there. These are the tasks to do. Let's physically go into one. Let's go into boat and trailer. So I created this, and what I can also do is I can create a checklist, okay? So under here on checklist, I can create a checklist, I can add it, I can put whatever I want in there, and it'll come up with a checklist, okay? I am going to delete that. On this one, on the boat and trailer, I guess I need the boat. So I've got my 14-foot boat in there, and I always forget my plug. So I add the plug, the wiring adapter, electric motor, so on and so forth. So this is my checklist in order to achieve this particular task, okay? Now, we've decided on the boat and trailer, Donna, you're gonna do it. Fantastic. So from here, I'm gonna drag Donna, oh, that's a terrible way. I'm going to assign Donna over to here, boom, boom. There you go, Donna's being assigned it. Now, I'm gonna be cheeky. I'm gonna give her a due date. So on here, I'm going to go, Donna, I'd like you to pack the boat, please. I'll give you lots of time. I'll give you 30. So then I'll go save. And then Donna's got this to achieve by July 30th. Happy days. Now, when Donna's doing it, she pulls it into here, so I can see she's physically doing it. Now, when she's been assigned this, and because it's a live system, I get notifications every time a card gets moved, okay? Because I'm the administrator. So Donna would come into here, and then she'd type under descriptions, are you crazy? Okay, and then save it. So then when I open this, I can see, oh, somebody has made a comment. So I'll go in, and then we have a discussion board, okay? So you've got your checklist, you've got your discussion board. It's a live system, okay? So once my wife is over the shock of being assigned this task, she'll go, fine, okay? I'll put the wiring adapter in, I'll put the anchor in, and you're not getting a downrigger, and we'll put fuel and oil in. And that's what she's done on that particular day. Fantastic, okay? Now I can see here from a high-level overview that she's done 4 out of my 11 tasks, okay? When you go into more detail, this is how we get to the physical checklists as well, okay? So there's plenty more you can do. I'm just going to go over the basics, right? So from here, we can also label it, okay? If we decide that a label, let me do this, is, what's a label? Important. Fantastic, I'll save it. So anything important is to be labeled green, right? We do need the boat to go fishing. So then we can see straight away that is an important element, so on and so forth. So we can determine from here what's important, what's not important, right? For here, for example, the sonar and fish finder, I think it's jolly important, but others may disagree. So they may say not important, so they would label it differently, okay? What I can then do is filter, so on and so forth. So let's just take a few more. I'm just going to load her up. So here and here. Oh, she's gonna love this when she comes back home. Then I'm gonna put due dates on everything with tomorrow. Okay, due date tomorrow. And then on the next one, we're gonna go fishing rods. We'll do due date. Fantastic. Okay, so if you're the individual looking for these tasks, you can see the due dates here. Now, you can go up here and then you can sort by and you can do due date. So that will help you prioritize what's on your specific task. Okay. So Trello is not just a Kanban board. It can help you as an individual identify what tasks are yours, what priorities there are, the checklist, so on and so forth. Now, I use this for my team, and I check in with my team, my remote team, every morning at 8 o'clock. And at 4:15. We go over what tasks are for the day and what tasks are being complete during the end of that day. So it's a very good representation and it's good visible cue for me to see what's on their agenda, okay? What we want to avoid is micromanaging the team. We don't necessarily want to avoid this task is 15 minutes, you've got 8 hours in a day, so I'm going to load you up. That's not the correct way to do task management. It's done in the physical deliverables, okay? And again, with the physical deliverables, you navigate and negotiate with your team that this is what you want to do. You empower your team, let go, job done, happy days, happy empowered team. So Trello has worked great for us. It's very simple to use. You can customize it however you want to. Again, ultimately a very good tool. Okay, so that is Trello. And I think for the purposes of today, with the response, I think I'm actually, Janessa, did you have something to say?
Yeah, you just have a question from Farzad in the chat. Can you allocate time that needs to take to complete the task in Trello?
Okay, so here's what I would normally do. On August fishing trip, so on, no, this is a bad one. Let's go into this one. Okay, the names are being protected to, you know, save the innocent here. So as we go over here, if we look at this deliverable, project costing for priority 3, what we would do if this was on the to-do unassigned list, where's it on? Here. We would normally put down here what the planned effort is, okay? So if the plan, and this planned effort would not come from the PM. The planned effort would come from the person doing the task, right? So if I allocate this to AK would come to me and say, right, for that task, it's going to take me 4 hours. Okay, I'm going to challenge that. It's my job, right? So as I look at it a little bit more, I may agree with it. You know what? You're right. It's 4 hours. Okay. The other end, you know, I may say, nah, actually, I think it's more like 2 hours. Do you want to relook at it? So it's a negotiation. So it's not just coming from the top down. It's involving your team. Again, to have an effective team, you've got to be able to discuss with the team and not just be a dictatorship. Okay. So on here, what we do. Priority 3, I would put down 3 hours. Oopsie-doo, 3 hours. And then you can see from here what the level of effort is. Now, the thing with Trello is it's not a resource allocation tool. It's a task management tool. So when it comes to planned effort versus actual effort, this will not be the tool to use. Now, I know Trello have identified that they could do project management and so on and so forth, but this is where it is limiting for them. Okay. Any other questions on Trello? Nope. Okay, no. I'm going to now go back to my main screen. Oh, okay. Great. Go back to. I think for the purpose of today, we'll just do the review of the actual tools, and just because of convenience of time. And if those of you wish to actually partake in using the tools, let us know, and I'll physically give you access to the tools, and then you'll be able to play around with them for 5 days. Okay. So let us go to share screen. Let us go to. Oh, oops, daisy. We are going here. Okay, so we have reviewed Trello. Okay, and all in all, my opinion of Trello, it is a fantastic tool. There's lots of big organizations using them. So simple to use. There's actually an app for it on the phone. So when activities are done, my team's done, I'll get a little ping, task moved from done to finish, or to do to done. Great. It's live, it's interactive. I can physically access the board on my phone, and I can move it on the fly as well. So all in all, again, because it's free, I think it's a great tool. The next tool we're going to look at is projectmanage.com. Let's look at all those colors. Okay, so on this one, it's a little bit different, but it is a much more advanced tool. Okay, so on the left, there's 3 different tiers. You've got starter, team, and business. Okay, task management is a big one. Again, this has Kanban boards. It's got Gantt charts, calendars, task lists. On the next tier up, you've got timesheets. You can have vacations, and then the next tier up from there, you've got resource management, you've got workload, you've got reporting tools, so on and so forth. But if I am a PMO manager and I ask my team members, right guys, what is the status of the projects? What I would like from an executive level is just give me a summary. So the screen in front of you, okay, this is the dashboard for all the projects, okay? This tells me the health, right? So I can see 1, 2, 3, I can see 5 projects right here, okay? This tells me I'm either on track, off track, or caution, right? So red means I'm off track on this particular project. My cost is on track. My workload, which is my resources, they're off track. Risks, no risks, I'm on track. Issues, I'm on track. Changes, we got to look at this one. Okay, great. So from here, I can have a high-level overview of what my projects and portfolios are. On this sheet here, it will tell me the tasks, what are in progress, what's not started, and what's not complete. Great, that's all I need to know. I don't know the details. I need high-level overview. If I need to know the details, I want to be able to dig into it. Great. Here I've got the progress, okay? So this is my work breakdown structure. What is my plan? What is my actual? Great. Here's my time, here's my cost, here's my workload. So let's jump now into the shared scenario in projectmanage.com. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and bear with me. I'm new to Zoom. I will figure it out. Just bear with me. I'll go to share. Tell me if you can all see my screen. Jolly.
Perfect.
Jolly good. Okay. Oh, we're going to go to the garden shed. Now remember, and let me just eliminate the info. Great. We talked about the garden shed. We talked about the 3 major deliverables: the concrete pad, roof and walls, and fixtures. We also broke down the concrete pad into 2: dig the area and pour the concrete. We broke these down as well. We broke down the dig the area into work packages. So measure the area, mark with a string, and dig out soil. So this is your task, but look in a different method. This is more project schedule, a more Gantt system. So this is more traditional waterfall. Okay, so from here now, I can actually allocate team members. I can assign the duration. It's going to take 5 days. So on this particular deliverable here, it's going to take me 15 days, 5 days, 5 days, 5 days. I'm going to assign it to team members. So David. No, I'm going to change it. I'm going to put this one as Janessa. There we go. So Janessa's going to, what's she going to do? She's going to dig out the soil. Lucky Janessa. Okay. So now Janessa's been allocated that, and it was due to finish on July 24th. We're in July 28th, and it's only 10% done. Oh boy, we're going to have works. Okay.
Sounds like me.
So on the Gantt chart here, we've mapped out the physical deliverables, which is linked here. If I go into my settings and I show overdue task allocation, I can see that these tasks were completed on time. This one, however, is on a red bar. It's late, so attention has to be paid to that one. How can we rectify this situation? Okay, because if this isn't addressed to a certain point, we're going to reach critical path. Okay, and that's going to push out all these other physical deliverables. Okay, so without going into too much detail on Gantt and such not, the theory is the same. You put into here basically what will be in your Kanban board. Okay, these are all your tasks. Your deliverables are in gold. Your tasks are in white. Okay, so well, blue. Mark area, mark string, dig out soil, and these are all dependent on each other. For the concrete, so you're doing these tasks as well, and you allocate the personnel accordingly. So I think Janessa's board. Let's just load it up here. And David needs a little bit of work to do as well, just a little bit, not too much. We're going to put, and this is where, to Farzad's point, well, how do I know what the level of effort is? Okay, so you would do planned effort. You've got actual effort here, your planned cost, planned hours. Okay, so I've got my planned hours. So my planned hours, okay, so here's where I can put down what my plan is. Okay. When I actually finish a task, though, I can put down what my actual hours are. Okay, so this should have taken me 5 hours. It actually took me 6 hours. Okay, I'm going to save that. This should have taken me 3 hours. It only took me 1. One-ish. Oh, no, I can't. No. Come on. 1. Oh, mark with a string. Actual hours. 2 hours. I won't let me do 1. Look at that. Don't cancel, no. And I'm going to save. Great. Okay. So this is your planned versus your actual. So you get good metrics on this one. Okay. So this is the PM front when it comes to your Gantt. Okay. There's different ways of looking at your project. On the left here is all of my projects. I've got the garden shed. I've got my different groups. And I've got a sample project. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 8 projects. Okay. I'm now going to go to my list view. And on my list, these are the actual tasks I have to do, not my physical deliverables. and this tells me who they're assigned to, okay? So Janessa's got some assignments. She's at 10%, it's overdue. I can tell straight away there's a task that's overdue, okay? This one was due yesterday, it's at 0%, poor Janessa. It's not been started yet. She hasn't borrowed the mixer, okay? We need the mixer in order to, you know, mix the cement, right? So straight away I can tell, and it's a good high-level overview of what's on track, what's not on track, okay? If I go to my board, this is like Asana, like Trello. This is your to-do, doing, done, okay? Different method of viewing it, okay? If I look at my dashboard though, so this is where it's of greatest benefit to me. So I can see the health of this project. I'm 14% behind schedule, okay? I've got 25 tasks to be completed. 2 are overdue. My progress is 27%. I haven't put any budget in this yet, so I'm not going to go there. So on my task sheet, not started is 24, complete is 2, and progress is 1. Okay, progress. Now, this is where I would give the customer access to this sheet, right? So the customer can log in here and they can see, right, what's the health of my project? And this alone saves me hours in just reports, okay? So from here, if I was a customer, well, concrete, you said you'd be 80%, you're 52%. I'm not so worried, okay? I know you can recover. So again, this is a good high-level overview of the product itself. When we go to time, we should be at 41%, we're at 27. Mathematics dictate we're 14% behind schedule, and this is our workload. So this is a good representation of this project's health in one very simple screen. Okay, if you go to calendar, we can see based on the project, what deliverables are due on this project. I can see on this week, I'm going to measure, this week, mark the dig out soil, so on and so forth. So very high level, I can see what the project deliverables are. Okay. So this is project based, but what about the whole? You know, 8 projects? Okay, well let's have a look at that then. Let's go to overview. And let's look at all of my projects. Great. So we've got all of my projects here, and let's look at the dashboard. As we go to the dashboard, as you can see, because these ones are empty, it's not quite there. But on the garden shed, I'm 14% behind schedule, but there's a caution there. Workload, caution. Okay. 25 tasks, 27% progress. On another sample project I've got here, I can see I'm on track for cost, 96% under. That's really good. I doubt that's for that. 49% behind schedule on here, and the workload. Okay, these are all the combined tasks of all the projects. Okay, and this is the overall project updates here. So the garden shed and the sample. I should be 100%. I'm at 51. So hold on. Yeah, well, your time should be red in my opinion, but the computer automatically spits it out. Overall time, overall cost, and overall workload. Okay, so this gives a good one click scenario of all of your projects. Okay, reports are just, this is a really good function of PM.com. I'm not going to go into it, but I can report on risks, issues, I can report on the health, and it can be automated. So every Monday, what we used to do is this would come out automated. It comes to me for the PM first for review, then me for final review on the workflow, and then get issued to the customer. It saves so many hours, so much time on reports here. But one key thing about this one is the workload allocation. So on here, I can go in, and on all of my projects, these are all of my resources I've got assigned right now. So on here, for example, if we look at Jennifer in the month of June, on Monday, she's allocated 25.6 hours of work, physically impossible. She had 8 hours on this project here, 8 hours on this project, 8 hours on this project, and 1.6 on there. That gives her a total on that one day of 25.6. Impossible. But what happens in reality is you work on a project, you may be assigned 6 hours a day, then your boss comes along and throws more at you, then you get a sales order come in and they throw more at you. Before you know it, you're at 20 hours, and it's unrealistic to be able to achieve all this. Well, in this particular tool here, we can level load. We can see from here, right, you know what, Janessa, you're not doing anything. So let's allocate 8 hours to Janessa and 8 hours to Mike. That way we can level load the resources, okay? Or if these hours have to be allocated to Jennifer in this example, we need to balance this out, okay? We need to spread the load, so to speak, and come up with a projected completion date, okay? So this gives resource management, and I quite like it. It's basic, but it works so well for me, right? And in projectmanager.com, it's not just based on one project. You can see all of the projects, each of the stakeholders are working on in one simple screen. Okay. What else is a benefit of using this? If you're running multiple projects, if you go to the roadmap, you can identify how many projects you've got on the go at any one time. So this is your from June up until July, and again, you can customize the screen here. These are all the projects I've got on the go. Actually, it's up until, until January 2021, okay? So a lot of the times what I see is if there's no roadmap and you get a call from sales saying, hey, I want you to install a pool or build 3 garden sheds, you want to be able to come to a tool and say, well, just a second, I need to look at the resource allocation. I need to see where I can effectively fit it in. I can reprioritize accordingly. And because in projectmanager.com, you can link project to project and task to task, you can identify by putting in a specific project what the impact's going to be overall to your company. Okay. So that's the roadmap element there. As an individual, though, there's a lot to take in PM.com. If all you want to do is, I just need to know what I'm working on, great, go to my work. And this will tell you, me, David, what I've been allocated this particular month. So I got it from the 6th to, from the 6th until the 4th. This is my assignment. This is my project here, what my status is. Same on this one. And I got a mix of concrete. I know it's upcoming on the 29th, which is tomorrow, which is the same time Donna's got to get the fishing stuff ready. I can see from a high level overview what I have to do. Okay. Now, I know there's a lot more comprehensive tools out there, but the reason I like PM.com, it's cost effective, number 1. Number 2, it's got everything I need it to do. Okay. And number 3, it's just simple to use. The reports, the tools, the dashboard, it's just so simple. Okay. Any questions before I move on?
Yeah, we got one in the chat here from Tara. Can you categorize projects so work and personal projects are grouped accordingly?
Bear with me. Let me do a quick key. Can you repeat that one more thing?
Yeah, no worries. So can you categorize projects so work and personal projects are grouped accordingly?
Yes, you can. So if I go into projects, okay. Not on the files, on the list. No, okay. There is a function, I know it is, because when I do, like for group A to F, I can group that as webinar. Okay, so I'll just come up as webinar project. I may have another group that states home projects, okay? So that would be what we call the program, and all the individual projects come underneath it, okay? So that can be grouped. I've done it before. PM.com has just updated this particular dash, so I'm not quite accustomed to the new layout. But the answer is yes, you can.
Perfect. Okay, and then we have another one. Just a question for yourself. Have you used Project Libre?
I have not used that tool now.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, let me just see. Look at this color. This is fantastic.
Oh, we got one more.
Okay, I'm going to go back.
We got one more. How would you compare Trello to Asana?
They're very similar. And with Trello and Asana, both have a good GUI system. They're both integrated to other tools. It's a personal preference. I think Asana is more powerful than Trello. It's got more functionality. I know our engineering group are a big fan of Asana. I've used it in other groups as well. So Asana seems to have a better followers from a technical aspect, but what Asana doesn't quite have is the resource allocation, from my understanding, unless it's been upgraded. But both are very good task management tools.
Amazing, thanks.
Alrighty, let's go back to the slide deck on this one. Okay, right, we've reviewed PM.com, one of my favorites. We're not doing an activity for now, so we're going to summarize now. So I do want to state that there's no one tool that fits all, no matter what a company promises you. I guarantee you, it's not going to be one fit for all. Don't get lost in the sales jargon. Focus on what you want in a tool to do. This goes back into, well, actually, I said to my wife one day, honey, I need a boat. And she mistakenly said, sure, great, okay. But before I knew it, how I wanted to buy another boat. I said, why do you need another boat? Well, this one's just designed for fishing. I want one to put kids in, right? So I kind of lost focus on what it is I wanted on the boat. The same with selecting a tool, right? Don't get lost on the promises and hype. You know, you're going to see a lot of that. Focus on what you want. I go back to the requirements list. List out what it is specifically you want without researching the tool. Rank it. Identify if it's a must-have, identify if it's a need-to-have or a nice-to-have or just not necessary. Involve the stakeholders, okay? Get a group consensus of what it is we want as a solution. And then from there, go in and select the tool. I've seen so many times where people just jump straight into Google and come up with, hey, I think this is a great tool. Follow the process, follow the procedures, you will get the tool that's correct for you. Okay. Obtain buy-in from stakeholders. To the point, if you're in a company, or even if you're a sole proprietor, if you have a remote team, if you have suppliers, if you have contractors that work for you, the same applies. You can use a tool with your contractor. You can use a tool with your suppliers. We used it when I was at another company, and we got that particular, because the vendor had to supply us with parts, their part of the project, so we gave them access to it. We required them to give us updates and take photos. They're part of the procedure, okay? But rather than just roll it out, make sure we buy in from all stakeholders, okay? And most importantly, it's got to be customizable to your organization. I've seen so many times where a tool has been bought and promises have been made, and we've gone back to the standard operating procedures, we've reviewed the SOP, we've looked at the tool, it doesn't work. Okay, well, I want to save face because I've just bought the tool, so let's change the SOP. So you try and change the SOP, what you end up doing is putting band-aids all over the tool, changing an SOP to something that's not right, you get audited, and before you know it, you're non-compliant. It's such a mess. Sometimes it's so good just to take a step back and go, good gosh, I made a mistake, okay? Let's see how we can correct the situation. I've had this before where we implemented a tool, and I had a lot of pressure from my sponsor, which was the VP. He said, we're going to implement this tool. Okay, so I went through all the processes. I got stakeholder engagement, we implemented it. But, 3 months into it, I thought, oh, this is the wrong tool. And it's good to say, right, guys, this is the wrong tool. We need to go back to the drawing board and reapply. Okay. So now I'm open up to any additional questions and answers for you guys.
Perfect. So because this is the question time, I would encourage you, if you would like to unmute yourself and just ask your question. I'll start off with just mentioning a question from Michael here. Can these tools be used with Agile or are they strictly waterfall?
No, they're Agile as well. If you go to Asana, not Asana, if you go to Trello, there's actually a power. Let me see if I can go into Trello. Bear with me. Actually, I won't go into it right now. But on Trello, on the right-hand side, there's options for add-ons. And in the add-ons, you can do burn-down charts, you can do Agile, you can do waterfall. Everything now is becoming more and more Agile. And although it's a bit of a different topic of discussion, I do want to touch on that briefly here. So in the world of project management, it's been on the go for a while, okay? People are now coming up to realizing project management can benefit the company, okay? Now, Agile was actually introduced about 15, 16 years ago into the project management world, taking out the IT element, right? And from here, now we're really starting to catch up how Agile can help you in your particular company. So PMI did a survey, and they identified from a waterfall technique to an Agile, and this survey was done last year. What percentage of companies are going which way? And the answer is, it's a 50-50 split, okay? So we think to ourselves, what's the benefit of Agile? The benefit of Agile is the customer engagement. The customer engagement satisfaction increased, 5, 6, 7 times fold, right? So with Agile comes different tools. We talk about Scrum methodology. We talk about sprints, okay? So straight away with Trello, you manage things into sprints. There is an Agile element into it. You can create burn-down charts, so on and so forth. ProjectManager.com has a waterfall element. They're now claiming they can be more Agile. We'll see how that goes. I'm not seeing a lot of Agile tools in PM.com, but again, you can utilize PM.com into Scrum methodology. You can put down your sprints. It doesn't have to be waterfall. You can put down all of the deliverables there. But again, choose a tool that's correct for you.
Perfect, thank you. And if there is any other questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or ask them in the chat box and I'll read them out too.
I did get a couple of key takeaways here. It's Joanne here. It's it's interesting to me that I'm going to have to Google a lot of things now. Agile, waterfall, Trello. I've heard a lot of extra words now, so I do have to do some Googling. Oops, I'm getting feedback. Are you hearing that too? Okay, so good, that's good. And I really appreciate this because I know as sort of we started looking at online project management, it's very easy to go down that rabbit hole where you're looking at 10 and that leads you to another 3, and next thing you know, you've forgotten all the reasons you went into it. You're going with the flashy one that happens to come up first in Google or on Facebook or whatever. So I really appreciate basically doing a project management to find your project management tool. So that's going to stick with me. I don't know if there's any other questions coming through, but that was some very, very valuable information. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to help us with that. I do know how to reach you. So when I have more questions, which there will be, I'm sure I'll just contact you. I feel sorry for Donna. I do feel sorry for her because she's got a lot of work to do before your fishing trip. So if she needs to call me, she can call me on that one. And again, I just really appreciate you taking the time. This was eye-opening. Like I said, I have a lot of work to do now, but I will get buy-in, listening. I will get buy-in from the team before I apply anything. So if there is nothing else to do, I did want to thank you, David, for taking your time. The project I Love Mission has been a huge success with all of these participants. I want to thank the participants again for coming on and educating yourself and taking advantage of all these incredible webinars we've been able to put on. We'll be possibly having some more in the fall. We're going to see if we're all burnt out from Zoom. We may need to take a break. But with that being said, I think we can just wrap up and get everyone out to the sunshine. And David, thank you again. You have a great day.